Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, hey, you already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 528 of the Talking for Hours podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is December 1st, 2023. Hopefully, everybody is having a great day here, the first day in the month of December. We've got some Juan Soto trade updates to talk about. If you want to join the show, you can click that link that's pinned up at the top of the chat. If you want to get your thoughts on the show, don't want to join the show, but be on the show, still a part of the show, you can put your live chat, comments, questions in the chat, and I will get to that. If you want to make sure I get to your comment or your question, you can use that super chat button. It supports the channel, and it brings you to the front of the line. So I appreciate anyone that takes the time to do that. The update, Padres won a lot of pitching for Juan Soto. At least that's the update if we're looking at Padres Yankees as a potential trade. Andy Martino of SNY has reported. John Heyman has reported. Ken Rosenthal, Dennis Lin, and Brendan Kuty have reported on this today. Winter meetings start next week, and hopefully a deal can get ironed out during the winter meetings. You know, sitting face to face, hopefully something can happen there instead of just like text messages or phone calls back and forth. Hopefully, you know, if they're in a room together, they can hammer it out. We'll see what happens. Maybe the Padres are waiting for a Shohei Ohtani deal to happen with the team, and then they can make those other teams be desperate to go get someone like Juan Soto because those teams missed out on Shohei Ohtani, and they might not want to pay Cody Bellinger long term, or they might want someone better than Jung-Hoo Lee, or better than Kevin Kiermaier, or so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But here are the updates. Let's start with. Should we start with Ken Rosenthal or Andy Martino? Let's start with Ken Rosenthal because I believe he put his article out first. I'm not going to go through John Heyman's update because it wasn't really much of an update. I think the Rosenthal, Lynn, and Brendan Kuty articles were that article, and the Andy Martino piece was more informative. So let's start with The Athletic. It says here, as of Friday afternoon, the Yankees and Padres were far apart on a deal involving outfielder Juan Soto. According to sources briefed on the discussions, the negotiations are not taking place in a vacuum. The Yankees face competition for the left-handed slugger. Stop right there. Yankees-Padres far apart on a deal involving outfielder Juan Soto. That should not be a surprise because this deal, it has not been reported by anyone that it was close at all. And the Padres, they're going to shoot for the moon. It's Juan Soto that they're trading here. And we're hearing that they are interested in attaching Trent Grisham to this as well. So, you want to maximize the return, it's going to take a little bit. You're going to aim for the moon, and then you're going to be willing to take the offer down if you want a trade to actually happen. So, not surprised that they're far apart. The Blue Jays are one of a number of teams talking to the Padres about Soto. Sources said Soto would be an ideal fit for the Blue Jays if they fail to land the game's top free agent, Shohei Ohtani. And if the Padres wait, other teams that miss out on Ohtani could enter the fray. But here's the thing. Can the Padres wait for Shohei Ohtani to sign with another team? If he's going to sign during the winter meetings, then maybe they can wait. But what if he isn't going to sign during the winter meetings? There's a thought out there that he's going to sign during the winter meetings. I think Jeff Passan wrote that in ESPN this morning. Sorry, it's been a long day for me. I don't remember if it was Passan or if it was John Heyman. Maybe it was both. But that's what has been put out there. Maybe Shohei signs during the winter meetings. But what if he doesn't? Maybe other teams are like, you know what? We're not going to go with Shohei, or the market intensifies for Shohei. Other teams jump in there on Shohei. Or two teams are really competitive. Or Shohei hasn't made up his mind yet on what team he wants to go to. Maybe he's made up his mind on the 3 or 4 teams he wants to consider, but maybe he hasn't made up his mind on who he wants to go to. So let's say he doesn't sign during the winter meetings. So the Padres are just going to wait. The winter meetings is supposed to be the most action-packed week of the offseason. So the Padres could see a ton of free agents that they might want to get if they trade Soto. A ton of those free agents go off the board. And now, okay, if you trade Soto, but who are you going to be replacing Soto with, and which free agents are you going to go get if those free agents that maybe you wanted go sign somewhere else? What if Jung-Hoo Lee goes and signs somewhere before you get a Soto trade done? What if some of these targets, they're targeting, I think, one of the Japanese closers, Passan put that in his piece this morning. What if he's gone? Because there is a posting period for these Japanese players. So I think it's like a 45-day period, something like that. I think that's with Yamamoto. I think it might be the same thing with Lee and probably the closer as well. So I think is Imanaga, I think that's his name, one of the other starters. I think there's like a certain day period where they have to sign, and if they don't, then they go back to wherever they were playing before. So it is risky for the Padres to continue to wait on this, but they do want to get the best return. The Padres are seeking I'm reading from this article again here. Padres are seeking a big multiplayer return for Soto, including Major League ready or near Major League ready pitching, according to an official with one of the clubs interested. It is also possible the Padres will accept lower level prospects if they believe those pitchers are sufficiently talented. But Nick Martinez already has left for the Reds as a free agent. Blake Snell, Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, Josh Hader, also likely to depart on the open market, leaving the Padres with immediate needs. We know the Padres were going to seek a big multiplayer return. That's not surprising. Major League ready, near Major League ready pitching. Yes, they need pitching. In a Juan Soto deal, you need, right, at least one starting pitcher to put in immediately into that rotation. And then let's say you get someone like a Drew Thorpe, or from the Blue Jays, their top prospect, Ricky Tiedemann. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name correctly. He's in AAA. His ETA is 2024. So he could come up. And if they can get someone like that from the Blue Jays, I'm not saying they will, but that was a name, I believe, that was mentioned here later in this article in The Athletic. From the Yankees, the Padres' targets include Clark Schmidt, who had a 4.64 ERA in 159 innings last season, and Michael King, who is a sell-high candidate after producing a 1.88 ERA in 8 starts at the end of the season. The Yankees currently view King as part of their 2024 rotation, but he also has proven as a quality multi-inning reliever. And I was going to read through this one before going to Andy Martino, but I know Andy Martino put something in here, I believe, about Michael King. Or it might have been on Twitter. It might have been on Twitter here. Let me double check. Looking up Andy Martino here. Hold on one second. Okay. Too long, didn't read is what Martino says here, quote tweeting his own article. King, Thorpe, Brito, Vasquez, 1 to 2 more prospects and cash is too much for Soto, Yankees believe. Yankees are not properly valuing Soto yet, the Padres believe. Soto and Grisham is what Martino adds here. And so the Yankees, it seems like they're really valuing Michael King. And Yankees fans, I see some Yankees fans aren't too happy about reading this about Michael King. And they're like, if Michael King is what is holding up this Juan Soto trade, this is terrible. Like, that's what some Yankees fans are thinking. And I would agree with that. Like, would you rather have Juan Soto, or would you rather have Michael King in your rotation for a couple of years? I get Soto, it's 1 year of control. King is a couple years. But would you rather have Juan Soto, or would you rather have Michael King? The Yankees can go get starting pitching in free agency or via trade to substitute or to replace Michael King. And they can have Juan Soto. Like, the Padres are the team. I don't think the Padres have a ton of leverage here, but the Padres are the team with Juan Soto. And if you want Juan Soto to go to your team over a division rival, you're going to have to give the Padres what they want, reasonably. And Michael King is definitely reasonably for the Padres to ask. Like, that's a reasonable ask to have Michael King in this trade. And so before I get to the Andy Martino piece, I just want to continue to go through here from the Blue Jays. So Blue Jays showing interest here. The Blue Jays, the Padres could seek a package including 1 or more pitchers from a group that includes top prospect Ricky Tiedemann, Bowden Francis, and Alek Manoah. Obviously, we know Alek Manoah. Bowden Francis. I'm trying to find that here on MLB.com. Has he made it to the big leagues already? I'm not going to act like I know who this guy is, so maybe he has made it to the big leagues. Let me look up on Baseball Reference here. Bowden Francis? Bowden? I've never heard of this guy. Okay, he had a 1.73 ERA in 20 games this year at the big league level. That's pretty darn good. But that was not as a starter, right? No, that was as a reliever. But if the Padres get back in this Juan Soto trade, let's say from the Blue Jays, they're asking for a group that includes the number one pitching prospect from the Blue Jays, Francis, who pitched well last year as a reliever, and Alek Manoah, who struggled. But with Ruben Niebla, maybe they can work some magic. And Manoah was looked at as like the Blue Jays ace not too long ago. So that would be a pretty good, I think, pitching package back. But I'd be surprised. Like I'm surprised that Preller, he's going all in for pitching here, and he's not asking for an outfielder. Because if you're trying to trade Grish and Soto, you have Tatis playing the outfield. You probably don't want a Zokar starting every day. Jacob Marcy, don't think he's ready for opening day 2024. You're going to need some outfielders. Now, they could go sign Jung-Hoo Lee if they trade Soto, right? But he hasn't played in the big leagues, and maybe it would take him a little bit to develop like it did with Ha-Sung Kim. Do the Padres want to do that with Jung-Hoo Lee? I know Kim and him are definitely close with one another, but I'm just throwing it out there. And they could trade for an outfielder. They could sign a 1-year deal with an outfielder. If, Tommy Pham doesn't seem like he likes Padre fans too much, but if he wants to start, Padres could offer him a starting spot. We know Preller loves Tommy Pham, and you could do it that way, and that's how your outfield would look. Lee in center, Tatis in right, Pham in left. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just thinking that's just off the top of my head. There's probably some other guys out there. Bellinger, I know some Padres fans might want to mention him if a trade opens up some salary, opens up some room, payroll room, but that's a big risk. I don't want to give Bellinger a long-term deal. But maybe the Padres can have some leverage here where they have the Yankees and the Blue Jays fighting for Juan Soto. Or if the Yankees are backing off, the Padres could say, you're okay with him just going to the Toronto Blue Jays, a team in your division for 1 year? You're okay with that? And we're hearing that the Blue Jays are also interested in Shohei Ohtani as well. If they don't get Ohtani, then maybe they really go full court press to get Soto. If they land Ohtani, maybe that makes the Yankees more desperate to get Soto because Ohtani as a hitter with the Blue Jays, that's dangerous. Don't you want to have another great hitter on your team if you're the Yankees to kind of combat that, right? So that's interesting. And what other teams are out there? Is it the Mariners, the Cubs? A 3-team trade, I think, is a possibility. And that's talked about here. First off, here written, the Padres in their discussions with the Yankees have proposed attaching Trent Grisham to Soto, a source said. Such a deal would allow the Yankees to address their needs in both center field and left field. But Grisham, projected to earn nearly $5 million in arbitration, batted just .198 with a .666 OPS last season. Yes, we know that. But if they add Juan Soto, they have Aaron Judge, and I mean, that's a pretty good duo, I would say, right there. And then Rizzo, maybe he bounces back. Hopefully he's healthy, after the concussion. I think that's what he had. And then maybe they get some bounce back years from their offense. Who knows if Stanton can be healthy and he can bounce back. They could have a pretty darn good offense there. And Grish, I mean, I think that short right field porch could help Grish there at Yankee Stadium. And he's good defensively. Attaching Grish, though, to a deal, that would lessen the Padres' return, right? Because Grish, it's not a big salary. That's like nothing for the Yankees to take on, but he's not the best hitter. And that's a bottom of the order hitter. And the Yankees would probably say, well, we're kind of just helping you out by taking Trent Grisham off of your hands so you can have more money to go spend on some other parts of your roster or to go spend on someone better than Trent Grisham to replace Trent in the outfield. So, yeah, you're not going to get this top prospect anymore, or you're not going to get this backup catcher anymore, or you're not going to get Michael King, you're going to get Clark Schmidt instead. Again, I go back to Everson Pereira, Oswaldo Cabrera, like I talked about with BBD yesterday, big Yankee fan, producer for Talking Yanks, like the biggest Yankees podcast out there. Really appreciate him coming on yesterday. If you missed that conversation, it's still valid to go listen to go watch, obviously, on YouTube, podcast platforms. Talked almost for an hour about Padres, Yankees, and possible trade there, some trade hypotheticals. We'll see what happens. I'm surprised that they're not asking for Pereira or Cabrera. I mentioned that in some hypotheticals yesterday because the Padres do need outfield. And if the Yankees don't want to give up someone like Michael King, then would the Padres be willing to say, hey, okay, well, let's go Clark Schmidt, Drew Thorpe, and you give us Pereira, let's say. But if you read Andy Martino, the conversations are not involving someone like Everson Pereira right now and some other guys, but I'll get to his article here in a little bit. Getting to the 3-team trade part, one possibility for the Padres here in The Athletic, it writes, if they are unable to strike a satisfactory deal with a single trading partner would be to involve a third club. The Mariners, for example, have desirable pitching for the Padres, but might not want to part with it for only 1 year of Soto, which is understandable. I brought that point up before. Regular trading partners of the Padres, the Mariners could acquire longer-term offensive pieces from the Yankees, I would assume, from the team that lands Soto while sending pitching to San Diego. So I guess they could get it from Toronto as well. So, like, if a 3-team deal, let's say it's a 3-team deal, which that would be interesting for sure. What do the Padres need? They need outfield. They need pitching. The Mariners could provide pitching. The Yankees could provide a pitcher, a couple pitchers. Maybe the Mariners give the Padres, I think it's Brian Wu is his name, or they give one of the other top young pitchers that they have there for Seattle because they have a good amount. Maybe they give one of them to the Padres. The Yankees provide a couple to the Padres. The Yankees give, I don't know what the Mariners' positional need is. Do they need a middle infielder? They could give like Gleyber Torres maybe 1 year to Seattle. Someone like that, or they could give one of their other role players. Maybe they could give an outfielder to Seattle. They could give, who's at third base for that? The Yankees don't really have a locked-in third baseman right now, but they could give something to the Mariners. Maybe they give the Mariners a pitcher as well that maybe the Padres aren't super high on, but the Mariners are okay taking. And I'm talking about like a pitching prospect, and they can make a deal work. That a 3-team deal sometimes gets too confusing for some fans, but I love 3-team deals. Like I think that's super interesting. And if that's a way that you can get it done and you can make all parties happy, then that's the way to do it. Because the Yankees, they might be like, no, we're not giving you Michael King, or we're not giving you this. And if they're not going to do that, but, the Padres, I don't think they have a ton of leverage here. They got to get Juan Soto off the books if they want to go get more of a complete roster. Then you involve another team in there to get something that you want, to get something comparable to that pitcher that the Yankees aren't willing to give you so that you can make a deal done. Because, like, this thing needs to happen here. I talked about the risk of waiting for an Ohtani signing to happen. Who knows when he's going to sign? There's a risk involved there with losing free agents, right? You could say, well, you could get a stronger return. More desperate teams, if they miss out on Shohei and they don't want to sign Bellinger, they go after Soto for 1 year. They're willing to give him over $30 million. But the longer you wait, the longer that you're probably restricted in making moves, at least significant money moves to your roster, because you don't have it guaranteed that Soto's going to be off your books. But if you have it guaranteed Soto's going to be off your books, and the $30+ million is officially off your books because you trade him to another team, one, there's that. Two, the return you got back, so people that are in your rotation now, or are in your outfield now, or are your fourth outfielder now, etc., or a backup catcher, whatever, you get my point. Then, three, now you have money to go spend, and you have a better idea of what areas you need to replace because you've made that deal. So we'll see. To end this article here, after Ohtani, Soto is the best hitter available in either trade or free agency. Any team that acquires him, however, will face long odds signing him to an extension. Turned down 15 years, 440 from the Nationals, prompting his trade to the Padres. His agent, Scott Boras, prefers his clients to establish their values through open bidding. Yeah, we know. So there's that. And then there's the SNY article. Again, for those that have comments, questions, please leave them in the chat. Super chats. When I go to the chat, you will jump to the front of the line. So I appreciate anyone that takes the time to do that. Very much appreciated. Don't take my audience for granted. Love talking and communicating with Padres fans. I just want to get through these articles first so every fan has like the full context of what all of the reporting is today. And I just give my thoughts on that, and then I'll get to the comments here. Not forgetting about you. Here's from Andy Martino, who's a reporter from SNY. Seems like he's pretty dialed in there for the Yankees and the Mets, but this is obviously the Yankees. Momentum between the Yankees and Padres about a blockbuster Juan Soto trade has stalled, at least for now, after the sides found themselves far apart on Thursday and Friday. Again, like I said at the beginning of the Athletic article, that's not surprising. You know, the Padres are going to ask for the moon. The Yankees want to give up the least amount possible in a trade. They're going to have to find middle ground if they want a trade to happen. According to league sources briefed on talk, San Diego is asking for pitcher Michael King, pitching prospect Drew Thorpe, and as many as 4 or 5 other prospects like Randy Vasquez and Johnny Brito. San Diego is also interested in salary relief, not just for Soto, but for center fielder Trent Grisham, sources say. There's more, and I'm going to get to that. But first, okay, so asking for Michael King, that's reasonable. Pitching prospect Drew Thorpe, okay, that's one of that's a top 5 prospect. Remember, people keep telling me what the Padres gave up to the Nationals, it does not mean anything for this trade. But it does, because the Padres gave up 4 of their top 5 prospects for 3 years of Soto, right? They got 2. 1 year of Soto, you got to get some of what you gave up back, right? You got to get a top 5 prospect back in a deal for Juan Soto from a team. You got to get one at least, right? So Drew Thorpe is that. Michael King, only 2 years of control. This isn't a 6-year control guy. Randy Vasquez, Johnny Brito. I believe Brito has time in the big leagues. Vasquez, he might as well, because I don't think they are seen as prospects, or are they? Randy Vasquez is 14th ranked prospect for the New York Yankees. And then Johnny Brito is probably not considered a prospect. Last year, let's see what he did. I don't think he got a ton of time. Yeah, 25 games, sorry. 13 starts, 1.218 whip, 4.28 ERA. He's not arbitration eligible till 2027. He's not a free agent till 2030. So obviously, the Padres have all the control for someone like Johnny Brito, which would be appealing. And I think he would fight for a 5th rotation spot probably on this Padres team. Or maybe they'd put him in the bullpen. Randy Vasquez would help this Padres team at some point in 2024, I would think. And then Drew Thorpe could be available 2024 or maybe 2025 to be in the rotation. And this is a guy I believe was minor league pitcher of the year this past year, or at least in the Yankees system. And this is a guy that could be like your Mackenzie Gore, right? They traded Mackenzie Gore, but they could get someone like that back here. Top pitching prospect, could be in the top of the rotation as Darvish gets older, as Musgrove gets older, be at the top there. And then Snelling could come up, right? You have guys like Snelling and Mazer and Iriarte and Lesko after Snelling, like he's later. But that could be a young rotation. And you wouldn't have to be paying a bunch for rotation spots, hopefully. But yeah, these guys, King, Thorpe, Vasquez, Brito, I think that's reasonable to be asking. Notice, Jason Dominguez was not a name I named there. Spencer Jones was not mentioned in this article, but that's not a name that was mentioned in this article that the Padres are asking for. Salary relief, not just for Soto, but for Trent. Like I said, that's going to diminish the return. I don't think that would be the best for the Padres. But if they really want to get rid of Grisham, and the Yankees are the only team that are willing to do that because they're getting Soto in the deal as well, then I guess that's how you do it. But what would that mean? Would that mean that you don't get someone like Johnny Brito, but you can get King and Thorpe still? If that's the case, then maybe you still pull the trigger. the trigger. I'm not saying that's the only thing that you would get back, but maybe you add on something else, but you don't get an extra arm or something like that. Andy Martino says here, Jason Dominguez and Anthony Volpe. By the way, it's not Volpe, it's Volpe. Jason Dominguez and Anthony Volpe are not involved in these talks, nor are Gleyber Torres, Austin Wells, or Everson Pereira. I think that AJ Preller, he should shoot for the moon here. Not asking for Jason Dominguez, I think that's a mistake. Or maybe he has asked for Jason Dominguez and the Yankees have said, F no, you're funny, and you've got to be joking, right? And so Preller's just not going to ask about that again because he knows that he's wasting his time. Anthony Volpe, why would he be involved? Like, that's not a fit. Yankees fans or anyone that wants Anthony Volpe, like, why? Padres have Jackson Merrill. They have Xander Bogaerts long-term. They have Crony long-term. And he's not probably going to go anywhere. So, like, Anthony Volpe doesn't fit this Padres team. Unless it's like a 3-team deal where Volpe goes somewhere else and the Padres can get something that the Yankees aren't willing to give up, okay. But he shouldn't be involved Padres-Yankees talks. Gleyber Torres, same thing. 1-year rental. They don't need that. Austin Wells, BBD was on the show yesterday. I understand he's like their top catching. He's like their Jason Dominguez of catching. Like you're not going to touch him. Okay. Everson Pereira, though, not being involved in talks, that's surprising. He should be involved in talks. You're trading, let's say it's Grish and Soto, 2 outfielders. Get an outfielder back from the Yankees. Get Oswaldo Cabrera back, someone that can play the infield and the outfield. Preller loves his versatility, can be a 4th outfielder, can be a key bench guy. Or get back Everson Pereira. Get someone back that could be a 4th outfielder or be your left fielder. Get someone back because you're giving up 2 outfielders, And if you don't get an outfielder back, guess what? You have to now go into free agency and compete against other teams to bring in an outfielder. And what if another team gives Jung-Hoo Lee more money than what you're willing to give, or gives more years than you're willing to give? Or what if he signs before you make a Juan Soto deal? So I think that they should be asking for an outfielder back here. Jason Dominguez, shoot for the moon, of course. But I don't think that that's realistic. That's why, the trade for the Padres that I think maybe could work is something like, and I talked about this with BBD of Talking Yanks yesterday, something like Soto to the Yankees and the Padres get back Schmidt, preferably King, but Schmidt, Thorpe, Pereira, and maybe someone like Kyle Higashioka because the Padres need another catcher. Higashioka, he can start if you need him to. He's a solid backup catcher. Something like that, where Yankees, Padres, we're not taking Jason Dominguez from you. We're not even taking Spencer Jones from you. Spencer Jones, I think the Padres should ask for. This isn't just a Jason Dominguez thing. I know Jason Dominguez, that's a very popular name out there. Like Padres fans are Dominguez or bust. I'd be fine with Spencer Jones. Bring him back home. I'd be fine with that. He's actually higher ranked than Jason Dominguez is for whatever that's worth on MLB.com's prospect rankings. And that's a guy that some Yankees fans are saying, like, maybe that's going to be judged from the left side. So, yeah, I would take that. But I do realize that might be a little unrealistic as well because Soto, it's 1 year. But getting pitching back, getting a top pitching prospect back, a top 5 prospect back, which is someone like Drew Thorpe, getting an outfielder back. If you can get someone like Higashioka, then you get him back as well. I think that's something that could be a reasonable deal. So, yeah, I am surprised that Everson Pereira, as of now, not involved in these trade talks. Should he? Let me know in the comments. Do you want Oswaldo Cabrera over Everson Pereira? I know a lot of people want Jason Dominguez, but I just don't think that that's realistic with Juan Soto under 1 year of control. If, let's say, Soto said before the trade, I'll go sign an extension with the Yankees and not go to free agency, then, yeah, it would be realistic to ask for Jason Dominguez because the Yankees would be getting Juan freaking Soto for more than a decade, right? He'd finish his career as a Yankee. Then, yeah, you ask for Jason Dominguez or you get Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez back. You have to, if that's the case, right? Because you're giving Soto away to the Yankees for a decade plus, right? But that's not the case. Soto, it feels like he wants to go to free agency regardless of where he goes. Because, worse, he could just go sign back in free agency with the Yankees after testing the market, like Aaron Judge did. So, I like that AJ Preller is asking for pitching. And from Andy Martino here, King, Thorpe, and as many as 4 or 5 other prospects, I like that he's asking for a lot of pitching, a lot of players. But what are those other players? Are you in this Soto deal going to get back a bunch of players, but they're not top prospects? Or are you going to get back a top 5 prospect? You're going to get back a starting pitcher that can be in your rotation and an outfielder. I think the Padres should get back the high impact guys, quality over the quantity, So we'll see where this trade goes, but that's the latest update here pretty much from Andy Martino. There's also some other stuff here that I can hit on in this article. The Padres are said to believe the Yankees are acting like the only plausible suitors for Soto. Yankees are said to be balking at moving the highly valuable King, plus many others for a 1-year rental and significant cash. There is no expectation that Soto will sign an extension prior to hitting free agency, and that's obvious. That's pretty obvious. One baseball official said of the Padres, if they think they can get a deal from another club like the one they're asking for from the Yankees, they should do it right now. Well, yeah, because there's a lot of players involved there. There's some players that can help your big league club right there. And you get, a top prospect that could be a top of the rotation starter for you. But yeah, that's a lot to be asking for. But again, AJ Preller should be asking for a lot. He should be asking for the moon. Now, the moon is Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez, right? Asking for Michael King as well, Andrew Thorpe. But I think asking for the moon also, qualifies when talking about that many people coming back in a trade for 1 year of Soto, even if that includes 2 years of Trent Grisham. Grisham is more the salary dump there, and the Yankees are like, okay, fine, we'll take him on because we're getting Juan Soto. It also says here at the end, probably Yankee sources saying, well, Padres we're still remain engaged with representatives for Cody Bellinger. Trying to say to the Padres like, hey, we can go in another direction if you don't do what we want you to do. But the Padres can say the winter meetings are next week. Let's just talk about this next week. And you want to go get Bellinger? Go get Bellinger. Like, that's a big risk for you, and you're not going to get Soto long term. So there's leverage both ways here. I feel like the Yankees have a little bit more leverage than the Padres because if the Padres want more of a complete roster, they've got to deal Juan Soto here. And I think the Yankees know that. I think Toronto Blue Jays know that. And so we'll see where it goes. I think whoever misses out on Ohtani, if Soto's still out there, maybe a team like the Chicago Cubs enters the mix. We'll see. Dodgers, Giants, if anyone mentions them, I don't see how the Padres are going to do that. They're going to trade Juan Soto to the Dodgers. They're going to trade Juan Soto to the Giants. You've already helped out some of those teams. You already helped out the Giants with Bob Melvin. And the Padres might say, we didn't help him out. We didn't want Bob Melvin. But come on. He's still viewed as one of the better managers in baseball. You didn't get any compensation for him. You gave him right to the San Francisco Giants. And I'm happy that Mike Schultz, the manager. If he's on the same page as Preller, good. But I'm just saying, like, they have helped out the San Francisco Giants here. They immediately went and hired Bomel when they knew he was available. The Padres, I don't know if anyone saw this in The Athletic, but the Padres gave the Giants a 48-hour window to communicate with Bob Melvin and get a hiring done because they didn't want it to leak they didn't want it to leak while Bob Melvin was under contract still with the Padres, which it's like, why all of a sudden do the Padres care about leaks? There's leaks all the time with this organization. Now you're going to care about a leak? You don't want Bob Melvin here, so just let him go. Yeah. I'm not going to I'm going to stop talking about that because I want to focus on what's happening here and now. Quick break here, and then I will get to the comments in the chat, the questions in the chat. So I'll be right back. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. Reminder, if you want to join the show, you can click that link that's pinned up at the top of the chat. If you have any thoughts, if you have a hypothetical trade that you want to throw at me, feel free to do that, or you can do it in the chat with some comments, some questions. Just checking social media here because you never know what could happen. So 1 second. The Padres are showing interest, I think, in Martin Maldonado. I believe I saw that today. Jim Russell tweeted, "Damn, didn't realize Michael King was a combination of Pedro Martinez and like Roger Clemens." Because the Yankees are like, "No, we don't want to give up Michael King." I mean, like seriously, if it's between Michael King and getting Juan Soto, I think they're an idiot to be like, "Nah, we'd rather have Michael King. He's under control for longer than Juan Soto. He's part of our rotation." Aren't the Yankees like in for Yamamoto? Like they can go spend money on starting pitching. If they really want starting pitching, you can go get starting pitching. All right. Let's get to the chat here. Bryce says it's just the Yankees. They're putting fake stuff out there just to raise the Yankees' price. Like the Padres are putting stuff out there, but there are New York reporters that are writing some stuff too. Nick says Soto to the Bronx. Bryce says Soto will be a Yankee. Nick says he will be a Yankee. I don't know. We'll see if Toronto makes a late push here. I don't even know if it's late. I don't know when the Padres are going to decide to move Soto. I think this should be late in the process because this is the big domino to fall, and then you can start making a bunch of moves here because you have clarity on how much money you have, how much room you have. But, the Padres, they're going to want to try to get the best return, obviously. Alex says, man, this week is going to be hectic. One of the craziest off seasons we're going to see in our lifetime. I mean, yeah, trading Juan Soto is pretty crazy. Hiring Mike Schilt, that month-long manager search. Seeing Bob Melvin go, that's pretty crazy. Who knows what off-season additions are coming? That's pretty crazy. Yeah. There's been some crazy ones, though, with Preller. I mean, right when he took over with Derek Norris and Will Middlebrooks and Matt Kemp and Justin Upton and Craig Kimbrell right before opening day. Probably forgetting someone. James Shields, right? That was kind of crazy. And then what are some other off seasons? Obviously, stealing the winter meetings. Feels like he does that, likes to do that. Bringing Bogarts in this past off season, and you're getting Tatis back and all the anticipation there. The off season where they hired Bob Melvin was interesting. The off season where they traded for Musgrove, Darvish, and Snell in like a span of like 72 hours, I think it was. Something crazy like that. There's been some hectic off seasons under AJ Preller. I mean, that's just who he is. So I would expect nothing less here in this offseason. And now part of it's his fault why it's going to be hectic, but he loves action, doesn't sleep. And I can respect that. I can disagree with some of the moves and I can think that he's had a lot of chances here, but I definitely respect how much he wants to win and how much he cares. Gil says Soto for Andy Pettit, Derek Jeter, Tino Martinez, Bernie Williams, and Mariano Rivera. I get it. You're joking. And then Gil says, and Babe Ruth. Yeah. I feel like that's what some Yankees fans think that's what the Padres are asking for. When they see the SNY article, Padres are asking for King, Thorpe, and 4 or 5 other prospects. Like they see how many, like 6, 7 guys in a trade. Holy cow, 1 year for Juan Soto, like a 1-year rental. What are the Padres thinking? But it's the beginning of trade talks. The beginning of trade talks for a superstar player. If you think that they're just going to be, oh no, reasonable, then I don't know what to tell you. Beginning of trade talks for a superstar, it's going to be wild. It's going to be a team shooting for the moon and saying, give us your whole farm system for this guy. That's how it's going to be. I'm sure that's how it was for the Nationals. And they kind of got that with the Padres. But they probably asked for more. I'm sure they asked for Jackson Merrill as well in that deal. The Padres, they didn't want to give up James Wood or, Robert Hash III initially, but they ended up doing it because they wanted Juan Soto. So will the Blue Jays do that? Will the Yankees do this? Not saying to that extent and give up 4 of their top 5 prospects. That's not going to happen. I'm not an idiot. I'm realistic. But I'm just saying, like, if you want Juan Soto, you don't want him to go to an AL East team, then Are you going to pull the trigger? Are you going to be willing to give up someone that isn't a guarantee to work out at the big league level for someone that you know will work out for you if he's healthy in 2024 in a walk year? It's some things that these teams have to weigh, right? I see, oh, great name here, Ben. He is in the live show here. Ben, what's up? Can you hear me,
Hey, what's
Ben?
up, Ben? Yeah.
Hey, I got you. Yep. What's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I honestly didn't realize I was gonna be talking. My bad.
No, that's yeah. So for here, yeah. Before I let you go, I guess I should make that clear. So at the top of the chat, that link there that I pin at the top of the chat during these live shows, if you click that, you go into the green room kind of here, and you're sitting there, and I can see your name pop up, and I can click on your name, and you're on the show. You're not just in the chat. If you want to be in the chat, you go to YouTube and you're in the chat there. But if you click that link, then you actually you can be on the show, like with your voice and give your thoughts to me. So if you want to do
Cool,
that,
cool.
go ahead.
Yeah. No problem. So I mean, first of all, I'm a huge baseball fan, but primarily a Yankees fan. But I follow like everybody, so I just love this time of year. I've always, when I played MLB The Show growing up, I literally sit there and just make trades and like all
Yeah,
that stuff. Like I just love doing that kind of GM type work. But I think I think that there definitely is an interesting spot right now. I think that with the winter meetings being a couple days, I think that the Padres definitely, like even Martino said, I think I saw someone else say it as well, that they need to like position themselves to like gain some more leverage, like you've been saying a lot.
yeah,
The Padres don't have much leverage right now, but I think they really want King. I think that's where the holdup is right now. I think the Padres really want King. They see him as like the number three starter, possibly could be an ace going forward. And I think the Yankees would prefer not to give him up. However, they're going to try to like, back out a little bit, try to gain some leverage back. But I think the Blue Jays thing is definitely really interesting. We haven't heard the Blue Jays at all until literally today, where it's like, oh, the Blue Jays are in. I think it's definitely someone's trying to get, make the Yankees a little bit more excited and
yeah,
desperate. But I think the hang up is King. I know Volpe. It's been reported multiple times that Volpe, Dominguez, Wells, Torres are not being talked about at all in
yep,
this trade. Um, I think the Yankees would love it to be Schmidt as like your like right now into your rotation piece. I think they wouldn't mind giving up like three more pieces, but I don't think they're trying to do like six pieces. I think they want to do 3 to 4 at most, with Schmidt as like the main piece, and then keep King into the rotation like he is right now. He's dead set right now as their like number three, so
yeah,
that's like a tough give up. But obviously it's Soto, so like that's why the Padres are saying like, hey, this is the guy we want.
yeah. Good points there. I think the Blue Jays thing. I don't know are how in they actually are on like getting Juan Soto. Just because like, are they really going to bring him back in free agency? And I think the Yankees there's a better shot of that happening.
Yeah,
And with Soto, yeah, and you talk about Michael King being the 3 starter. Aren't the Yankees like in on the starting pitching market though? And
correct,
when is Drew Thorpe going to come up for them? Is that 2024 or is that
correct.
2020? That's 2024. Okay. So if they think that Thorpe is so great, then
Well,
why
that's the
can't
hope.
Thorpe? Right.
Yeah, I
But
mean it's kind of like in the
is it a
past.
guarantee? Because Michael King didn't pitch in the rotation all season long this past year. Is it a guarantee that he's going to have a sub 3 ERA again in 2024? I think
Yeah,
it's more. I'll put it this way. I think it's more of a guarantee that Soto has a 900 plus OPS for the Yankees and hits a bunch of bombs with the short porch there than
yeah.
it is for Michael King to have a sub 3 ERA again and be healthy all year long in the rotation as the 3 starter for the Yankees.
I don't doubt that at all. I actually think if I'm a Padres fan, King has to be in this deal. Like that's my personal opinion. Obviously, King didn't pitch in the rotation all last year, but with the way that I mean, listen, we've had about seven. I can rattle off 7 names of starting pitching prospects that didn't work out for us whatsoever.
Yeah.
Justice Sheffield, Devi Garcia, Chance Adams, like the list
Clark
goes
Schmidt
on.
to a degree, right?
He's not fully like he's not fully like King is like just ahead of him, I think, in their minds, and that's
Okay.
part of the reason why in our minds he's the piece that we would prefer to give up. Again, I think King has to be the piece the Padres get in this deal. I think at the end of the day, if like it gets done and the Padres are happy and the Yankees are happy, it's King plus like Everson Pereira. I think the Padres should get a catcher back because I don't know if you know this very well, but we have 6 catchers on our 40-man right now, which is absurd.
Yeah. BBD was saying that yesterday. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that ultimately, in the same way that you guys are trying to like dump Grisham on us, which I don't necessarily think it's saying that's a dump, but I think those pieces kind of fit where like, hey, we get a depth outfielder, you guys get a depth catcher. I think that kind of fits really well as well. But I think, yeah, like I said, King, he definitely wasn't the starter all last year, but with injuries being the way they were, Yamamoto could be gone tomorrow to the Mets or the Dodgers, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like we can't necessarily go into the idea of trading for Soto like, oh, we're getting Yamamoto. Obviously, we would love to think that way, but if Yamamoto goes tomorrow to the Mets and then we trade King to the Dodgers, we're kind of sitting with like who's our three guy at the end of the day. So I absolutely think King needs to be that guy that the Padres get, but I think that's where the holdup is right now, where it's like the Yankees are trying to play hardball so they can like get the best deal that they can out of this, while also getting the guy that we really want.
And they should be playing hardball. The Padres should be doing it as well because
Correct.
they know that the winter meetings is coming up next week and they can talk face to face all week long and
Yeah.
hammer out a deal. The Padres can talk with the Blue Jays face to face and make the Yankees worry. Uh, there can just be leaks
Sitting at the
to
bar together.
there can be leaks to John Heyman sitting there in the lobby and like it's just we're gonna see a lot of leaks. I feel like this is not a Shohei
Correct.
Ohtani thing where be silent or he's not gonna go to your team. Like it's a trade, it's different. We're gonna see
Right.
names thrown around. And again, I go back to the point that I made earlier. Like, would you rather have Juan Soto or would you rather have Michael King? And if
Yeah, I don't
Michael
think that's
King
a
is
question to
really,
them at all. I don't think that's a question to them at all. I think it's
it's
not like
just you just think it's early in the process, so that's why they're saying no King right now.
correct.
But they're
Correct.
eventually gonna say yes if that's
Their
what it takes.
best, correct. Brian Cashman's best hope is he gets to slot in Michael King as his four starter behind Yamamoto,
Hmm.
uh, and then Soto you plug in left field. His worst case scenario is he trades King for Soto, Yamamoto walks, and now he's like, okay, well I have to answer, which I don't think is the worst case scenario personally because there is still a lot of like starting pitching depth out there,
Yeah,
but they view this guy as like the possible like, and I mean you saw his interviews this offseason, correct, Cashman's?
yeah. Oh, he's
And
so defensive. Oh my
correct.
gosh,
And I think there's a point of pride to him to say that he actually like has a guy that could be like a future starting pitcher developed
that
like
he developed.
properly.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah,
yeah,
so I think that's the thing with King is like there's a lot more weight for the Yankees for him to stay but it's not an either or. Like at the end of the day, as a Yankees fan, get King out of here if it means getting Juan Soto. But I think if the Yankees like perfect world, and like I said, it's a couple days before winter meetings, which makes all the more sense why these talks are sort of breaking down right
yeah.
now because I definitely think that they are trying to like spice it up before they get down to Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm looking at Michael King's game logs here. A lot of,
Finished
relief.
strong. He finished
Yeah,
strong as a
finish
starting
strong.
pitcher.
A lot of relief innings to start. And then really September is when he really got those starts. 5
Correct.
innings, 1 run, 5 innings, 1 run. Let's see, 4 2/3, 1 run, 7 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, no runs. Last outing, 4 innings, 4 runs. But that's a really good month of September there.
Small sample size
Finishes with
though.
the yeah, but finished with the 2.75 ERA. So like while the Yankees would be like, yeah, we want Michael King, they could also be like, well, that's a risk. And the Padres, if they acquire Michael King, Yankees fans, I guess to make yourselves feel better, you could say, well, Michael King was going to be a risk anyway in the rotation. And we
Hmm.
got Juan Soto. So
Yeah.
Yankees fans, if King goes, I don't think they're going to be all sad. Like you're going to have Juan Soto.
Yeah.
And so, and it allows you to move on, right? Like I know they can do multiple things at the same time, but I feel like you want to get this Soto thing done, whether you get him or not,
Yeah.
get that trade done, just like the Padres do. So you can move on and, get a plan here, really know what you're going to be doing here in the off season.
Yeah. I'll give you like two kind of final thoughts from my perspective. I
Yeah.
think from what all came out tonight, it seems like the King, like I said, I think King needs to be in the deal for the Padres to be really happy. If I'm a Padres fan, that's what I want. I think from what I grasped, from what everything that was reported, it seems like it's like King plus five other guys, and I think that's where the
Yeah.
Yankees are definitely getting uncomfortable because Martino reported that multiple execs, MLB execs, said like, "Whoa, that's way too much." The Padres are
Yeah.
asking for. Now again, it's Juan Soto, but it also is 1 year. 1 year he could walk, so it is like that, like really nitty gritty. And then I think the other thing is just the simple fact that, like, you know, it's Juan Soto. We need a left-handed hitter. We need a 1B to Judge. Like that answers so many things to us. But at the same time, if King goes, it does put so much pressure on Cashman to make like Yamamoto work. Like I
Yes.
think there's already a lot of pressure on him to get him. But I think that if we give up King, like I said, not having that three starter per se, like locked in, I think the pressure only intensifies. And so, like I said, I think it should be like if perfect world to me, I think everyone's happy. It's King, Pereira, and Higgy. I would even say like four players with Higgy as the fourth throw-in,
A
like a
top 5
catcher.
prospect has to go though.
Yeah, no, and I was gonna say like Higgy's like the fourth throw-in player, but I was gonna say King, like an outfield guy. Basically you're flip-flopping the top outfield prospect versus the top starting pitching prospect. Like, do you want Thorpe or Jones? I think that's where it comes down to as well.
Mhm.
And then I don't really care for Grisham personally. I think we're better suited like just like getting Kiermaier, like a left-handed bat that's like a very good veteran presence, speedy guy, could just be in our 9 hole on the cheap. I like that a lot. But
Which is what Grish can do, and Grish will make less than what Kiermaier will make.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I don't know if I personally I think Kiermaier's back could play up better, but I don't know. And plus he knows the AL East really well, so that's another thing people have said a lot of.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ben, for the time. Really
Hey,
appreciate
thank you,
your
man.
perspective.
Good talking to you.
All right. Have a good one. All right. So I'll keep going through the chat. Thank you so much to Ben, obviously, there. Great name for coming on the show. Anyone else want to join? Click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. Bryce says, do you get it? An AL East team is interested. LOL, it's to raise the Yankees price. I could definitely see that. I can't really picture Juan Soto in a Blue Jays uniform, where Juan Soto in a Yankees uniform, I can definitely picture. Talks are gaining steam and Soto will be traded. It's bound to happen. Yeah, I'm already at the point where I know Soto's going to get dealt. Blue Jays are not involved heavily. It's to drive the price up. Talks are just the Padres and the Yankees right now. They mention teams to drive the price up. Yep. I mean, we saw that, like Padres fans, we saw that to a worse degree between the Max Scherzer trade, right? Padres, they're close to a deal for Max Scherzer, and then he goes to the Dodgers with Trey Turner. And it was like, that was so crushing. I remember sitting here in my garage right here. I was on Zoom. I wasn't doing this. It wasn't like this. I was on Zoom recording my reaction. Yeah, I was pissed off at Ken Rosenthal, I think. I was pissed off at Scott Boras, I think, because I was pretty sure Scott Boras was the one that had to have leaked that because he probably wanted Scherzer to go to the Dodgers, not the Padres, or Scherzer wanted to go to the Dodgers, not the Padres, so they made that happen. That's what happens, right? Like reporters, they're going to they want the views and the engagement, right? And so they're going to leak out stuff, and executives from other teams know that. They have agendas, and so we just have to watch out for that. Emotionally, as a fan, sometimes I don't watch out for that. Like I admit that. I will just talk about the Blue Jays and be like, "Oh, that's an interesting package," and not think like, "Oh, well, are they really interested? Or are they just saying that they are?" You know. But that's just how it is. Using the media to their advantage. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Kirsten says maybe they want us to take Stanton. Could be holding it up. Heck no. Why would the Padres take on Stanton? They're trying to dump money. They're not trying to take on money. And Stanton is not Aaron Judge. He can't. He was there in what 2015 or whatever year that was when he had a million bombs hit with the Marlins. He can hit bombs. He can play well for the most part. Last year was a down year. He can be a good hitter when he's healthy, but he just doesn't stay healthy enough. And that's a lot of money still on that contract. Sam asked, did we forget how flat our lineup looked before we got Juan Soto? No, I'm not forgetting that. But do we forget what our rotation looked like, let's say, at the end of 2021? where we had Jake Arrieta and Vince Velasquez and Ross Detweiler. I remember those days. Yeah, that sucked. And you might say, well, that was because of injuries. But what I will say is, I don't care if it was because of injuries. They didn't have the depth. They didn't have enough starting pitching. And right now, what do they have? Or what do they not have? Starting pitching depth. They don't have enough. So, like, I don't want to be in that situation. They need pitching badly. And they can go get it in free agency. They can get it in trades. But it's much harder, I think, in my opinion, to get a quality rotation completed if you only have, $11 million of room, less than $20 million of room to spend on that. And, oh, by the way, couple relievers and first base DH bat and catcher, I just don't see how this Padres team is going to have Juan Soto on it. So you can talk about the lineup, sure, but you need pitching as well. This isn't a one-sided baseball game. You need pitching, you need defense, and I think Soto improved last year defensively. I don't want to, totally crap on his defense. And I'm not saying Juan Soto's not a good baseball player, and I think he makes the offense better. And yeah, you'd want Juan Soto on your baseball team, but I also want a complete baseball team, or as complete as it can be, and it's not going to be as complete as it can be if Juan Soto's still under contract, I think. John is back on the show. What's up, my man?
Nothing much, man. Just I'm trying to get more into football, but then baseball just keeps bringing me back in. Oh my golly, it is. This Juan Soto talk is driving me absolutely bonkers, honestly.
Yep. Oh, get ready. It's going to keep going.
No, I know. I'm gearing up for winter meetings just because it's just only going to get crazier. I mean, you just think about it this time.
I wish the winter meetings were in San Diego again. Like, man, I'd be in that lobby and seeing John Heyman sitting there against the wall, tweeting out something.
Yeah,
I just remember those moments, like, when someone signs and I'm like, oh, I see that guy. I just saw the tweet pop up, and that guy is literally on his phone right now, and I just saw that. Like, it's great. Nashville is going to be crazy next week with rumors, and because we know, of course, they're going to be focused on Ohtani, but not much is going to be coming out of that camp. The leaks with the trade stuff is going to be leaking all over the place about talks and all that. So we're going to get a lot more updates.
Yeah, I was wondering what security guard you bribed in order to get into there, because
you can just go in.
Wow,
it's just a lobby. Yeah,
the
it's
MLB
not like
would have.
There's some people that have like I think there's some people that have like tried to go up to rooms and stuff, but no, it's just the lobby. You can just walk into the lobby and talk to people.
I meant to ask. So, are you in the camp that they should just get the Soto deal done with, essentially, or are you more in the camp of that AJ Preller has leverage in this situation and he should be utilizing it to the best of abilities? Because I've been hearing rumors about Blue Jays involved. I heard Yankees are obviously. What's your thought on that, honestly?
Yeah, I think that this needs to get done by the end of the winter meetings because you need to have a plan. You have to know a concrete plan. You can have plan A, plan B. We know Preller has that. He has a bunch of different plans, but like a concrete plan, not like, oh, if we trade Soto, this can happen, because guys are going to fly off the board. Other moves are going to be happening. And I don't really buy into like the Padres having leverage with, oh, I know I brought up the point earlier, so maybe I'm, going against my other point previously, but like, I don't really believe how like the Blue Jays are super in on a Juan Soto trade. I feel like it's the Yankees. It could be the Cubs, a team like that, if they don't get Shohei or something, but I don't really believe that the Blue Jays are really going to go trade for Juan Soto. I feel like that's more, the Yankees trying to get, or the Padres, I should say, trying to get more of an offer from the Yankees. I think that the team going after Juan Soto has more of the leverage because they know that the Padres want to try to contend this next season, and they're going to have a better ability, in my opinion, of contending by having more of a complete roster, and you're not going to have as complete of a roster if you still have Juan Soto making $33 million on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a missing element, I think, to this conversation in terms of Juan Soto, where, if I mean, listen, if we keep Juan Soto, right, and there is just no team that is able to, manage the kind of trade package that we think we deserve, right, in order to make it worth it, then we keep Juan Soto for half a year, right, half a season, right, which again isn't the worst thing in the world in terms of obviously payroll sucks, right? It would suck in terms of that, but I mean, we have Juan Soto, right? And if we're looking to compete, if we're talking about fan base and everything like that, we have Juan Soto in order to kind of sell the tickets and bring people in and blah 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 all that
Where's
stuff, right?
where's the pitching coming from though for that first half of the season? And if the Padres are
I
in it,
mean, yeah,
then you're
again, you're
trading
right. I mean,
Soto if they're in it.
yeah. Listen, the thing is that we have Juan Soto. He's a generational talent who's going to be definitely making waves next year, especially in a contract year. I mean, look at Blake Snell. I mean, he had a fantastic year when money was on the line, and I imagine Juan Soto's going to think in that same mentality as well. Scott Boras is going to get into his ear at spring training and say, "Hey, buddy, you might want to hit 30 plus home runs this year because you're going to get a big fat payday." But I think at the end of the day, I mean, you're right. We do need pitching, and we do need a bullpen, and we do need to improve in some sort of way. I think we as Padre fans have to suck up the fact that we are not necessarily going to be a worse team than we were previous years. We're just going to be a very significantly different team. We lost Nick Martinez, Tim Hill, a lot of guys who were just kind of institutional in the Padres lexicon, I would say. And it's just interesting to see that it's for me, it's really hard to make the case that we're going to be better this year, or this coming year. You know what I mean? I mean,
Mhm.
unless Bogarts, Machado, and Tatis all of a sudden have these career seasons, or don't get injured or anything like that, then it's hard to imagine that we're going to be better. And on top of that, having to compete not only against the Dodgers, but also we have to consider Arizona, and we also have to consider the Giants as well if they make some big moves next week as well. So, I'm dicey, and I obviously I would like to keep Soto, but obviously I'm very much aware of the limitations that we have in terms of payroll. But I think if we don't if we don't trade off Soto, I don't see it as a big loss or a big, gain or anything like that. I think we can scrape and figure out something. AJ Preller is good at that, right? Isn't that what everyone says who supports him still, right?
Yeah, I mean that he has done that in the past, especially in the bullpen with some of those moves. And
Yeah,
he did it last year, with Lugo and Waka. But with
yeah.
Lugo and Waka, how much money were they making? A combined more money. At least it
14.
was more money combined than what they have right now with Juan Soto on the roster and room to get to $200 million. At least
Yeah,
according to reports, if we're going to believe all of that, and we're going to believe Fangraphs and that $189 million number that they have there. And you go to your point about Padres. Yeah, it's hard to believe they're going to be better next year. Look at the pitching, right? So even if Juan Soto's not on the team and they acquire pitching, what's the rotation going to look like? Maybe it's in a good spot, but I thought the rotation was pretty darn good this past year.
oh,
And the bullpen,
best.
yeah, it was shaky at times. But
I mean,
you're
if
not
I
going to
ever
have
meet,
Josh Hader.
yeah, no, but he was a waste, honestly.
Yes, yes. But I'm just saying like that, when he was on the mound, he was really good for the most part. And this rotation, you're not having Blake Snell. You're not going to have a Cy Young winner in the rotation this next year.
Yeah,
Maybe someone could surprise us. Musgrove, I don't want to. Maybe this can be his motivation, but I'm not going to bet that a rotation is going to have a Cy Young. The Padres rotation is going to have a Cy Young in it. So yeah, your point is valid. Um, I just disagree with the trading Soto part or not trading it, and it's like it's going to be fine because
yeah,
are we okay with the rotation of Darvish coming off injury, Musgrove coming off injury? Let's say Wade Miley, um, who else? Tyler Malley or Jack Flaherty, and then the 5 starters, Pedro Avila. We're fine with that. And who are the
yeah,
depth guys when someone gets hurt? Because we're
yeah.
not going to use 5 starters. That
No,
no one does that. So are we fine with that? Hey, we have Juan Soto, but
yeah,
we didn't make the playoffs with Juan Soto this past season. And the offense was bad, and I hope the offense can bounce back. But the pitching was good this past year, is it going to be as good this next year, even if the offense is better? Like, so one side could be going up, but the other side that was up could be going down as well. So
Yeah. I think, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, believe me, I think I have fully grieved to the fact that Juan Soto will most likely not be a Padre come February, which again, in just looking at all the numbers and everything like that, I think obviously it's the smartest move you could possibly make. He's the biggest trade piece that we have to offer. And you might as well get something out of him, for God's sakes.
Yep.
Right? If it's even if it's a prospect or just somebody to make the team a little bit more complete than it is now, essentially. And I mean, Juan Soto is a valuable piece to trade away, right? But that being said, I like to think that AJ Preller does have some sort of leverage in terms of trading him, because again, everyone in the league and their mother is saying how this guy's the next Ted Williams and the second coming of Christ, and he's a Messiah, and we should be bowing down to him next time he goes to the plate, right? But if we have him for half a year, we have him for half a year, and if anything, I'll still root for him regardless or whatever. But I think that AJ Preller is smart in terms of, especially for the Yankees, right? The Yankees have a lot of prospects that are pretty valuable in terms of Juan Soto's status, and milk it for everything that he has to offer. I mean, we're giving up a big trade piece for him, and we'll see, man. I don't know. It's baseball. Gosh darn it. It is one of those funny things. But I mean, we'll see. Juan Soto, I think he's going to be traded. It is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sad. It is what it is.
Yeah. It sucks. Like I said the other day, it sucks that they're even in this spot, and just the steps that it took to get to this spot. At the winter meetings this next week, do you think that a deal is going to get done?
Personally, yeah. I think because AJ Preller has a little bit of an ego, and he's definitely wanted to make moves during the winter meeting. I think it's his time to shine, quite frankly. Especially when the Padres are coming off a disappointing season. He made splash moves the last winter meeting, right?
Yep.
I honestly would not be surprised if he trades Soto and then makes some sort of blockbuster deal on the side, honestly, where it completely negates the fact that we just traded Soto, where it's just we get like Yamamoto, or you know what I mean? I'm not saying that right now, but it's not beyond Preller to make some moves, I think, and some pretty significant moves, especially when everyone's together. I imagine there's a lot of egos there, and AJ Preller wants to be the best one there, and he's probably got the spirit of Peter Seidler on his side or something like that. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. I think at the end of the day, this team has a bigger fight and a bigger uphill climb that we did last year, and we're talking not. Mike Schmidt said we got to start competing in the division. We really got to compete in this division now. I mean, the Giants are going to come up. People in San Francisco, where I'm at right now, are pretty antsy to get some big name talent like Ohtani. So, watch out, Padre fans. We got some people on the left and right flank, not just up north, in LA. So we'll see.
It might end up being a good thing. But we don't want to be in this spot. Like, you'd rather be the ones on top. So
of course.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
I will say,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, last thing is that I guarantee you Blake Snell's going to have a bad year next year. I guarantee it. I think so. I have a hunch. I have a big hunch. I like Blake Snell.
Yeah.
I love Blake Snell. Did great, but I think after a Cy Young and he's going to get a big fat paycheck, we'll see. I don't know. I don't think so.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
No problem.
I don't want to wish, Blake Snell to have a bad year unless it's like for the Dodgers. Or, you can pitch good, but us beat the Dodgers still and us, have success. He's not going to be better than what he was this year. Like, yeah, there's no doubt about that. I guess it's up for debate. What do you consider a bad year from Blake Snell? Do you, if he goes back to 5-inning starts instead of going 6 innings or 7 innings, but he doesn't walk as many guys, has a decent ERA, is that still a good year, or is that a down year or a bad year? Because you're comparing what he did this next year to what he did this past year. Blake, he's not coming back. We'll see what happens. I know he's following what's happening with the Padres because I know that he's seeing my stuff, which is cool. Thanks, Blake, for following. I appreciate that. He might. It's like he wants to come back and he cares, but I think he knows that the Padres aren't in a spot to give him the money that he's going to get from some teams. Some team's going to offer him something. So, Blake, he was a good personality. I loved watching him pitch this year, but I can't get it out of my head, the walks, the inconsistency from past years, and $200 million for Snell or something like that. It's like, man, Padres aren't in a spot to do that, and even if they were, would that be the best move to go do that? I don't know. Gil says Jackson Holiday in a Padres uniform would be fire. Yes, it would, but the Orioles, I don't think they're like kind of like the Blue Jays. I don't picture Juan Soto in an Orioles uniform because it's 1 year. Their owners, while they should be spending big on free agents, and Baltimore's fan base wasn't happy last offseason when they didn't spend, which I totally agree with. They should be unhappy. They should spend, especially after what happened this past season. The Orioles don't seem like a team to go give Juan Soto $500 million in free agency. So they have the prospects for sure, but they want to go all in 1 year with Juan Soto and give up Jackson Holiday. Like, that's not happening. That's like the Yankees giving up Jason Dominguez. Like, that's not going to happen. So that's too much of a dream. I think that's too much of a pipe dream there. Juan says Soto trade with the Nats was stupid. Well, I don't think that's what most Padre fans' thoughts were at the time. We were super happy that we had Juan Soto, and we said, hey, prospects are prospects. They're going all in. We've got a great shot at, going deep in the postseason and maybe winning the whole thing now for the next 3 years. This was before the Bogarts contract and all this money, right? We were feeling good when that was happening. A lot has happened, That's why we should appreciate all those moments of success because you don't know if you're going to experience that again. Juan says, I don't know why fans are enamored with big names. Superstars do not make teams better. I mean, I disagree with that. I could, go down the line of past World Series champions that have superstars on their teams. And I think you'd agree that, yeah, those teams were made better by, having those players on those teams. I mean, should we go through the past World Series champions? Do you want to do that? We can do that. Texas Rangers. Maybe Corey Seager's not considered a superstar, but he performed like a superstar. He was given a huge contract. Semin and Seager, I think they helped the Rangers win that World Series. 2022, Houston Astros, Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve, those aren't superstar players. I think they help. 2021, right? Yeah, 2021. Braves, they didn't have Acuna, but they did have Freddie Freeman. And you're telling me that Freddie Freeman doesn't help? They had Freddie Freeman, right? Then after that, he went to the Dodgers. Freddie Freeman didn't help that team. Ozzie Albies doesn't help that team. I'm not saying Ozzie Albies is a superstar, but he was good then, right? Having Freddie Freeman doesn't help. Superstars help you. 2020, I'm tossing out that year, but there are star players on the Dodgers. 2019, Juan Soto doesn't help. Anthony Rendon, when he was performing as a star, doesn't help. Trey Turner doesn't help. Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg, being aces, that doesn't help. Like, come on. I disagree with that point. Bring up 2018 with Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts with the Boston Red Sox, right? And Chris Sale coming out of the bullpen. I think superstars help. Now, too many, that can limit the flexibility that you have. Like, it's still a team sport. So if you're making that point, that's more valid. But just not having superstars, I disagree. Superstars do not make teams better. That's a hot take, I guess. Juan says lots of teams have tried it. They've tried it and have failed at any sport. Yes, there's only one champion a year, and there's superstars on a bunch of different teams. So yes, every team every year is going to fail with it, and almost every year a team is going to succeed with it. That's how sports work. I see Carter is here. He wants to join the show. What's up, Carter? You got me?
What's up? You got me?
Yep, I got you. What's up?
Quick question. Why this has to be probably one of the most mid off seasons, I mean, so far, because nothing has happened. But why isn't no one like signed? I mean, some have.
Because they're waiting.
obviously.
They're waiting for
Yeah.
Juan Soto to be dealt. They're waiting for Shohei Ohtani to sign. Maybe they're waiting for a Yamamoto deal, like for the starting pitching market to really start going. There's big names out there that teams are interested in. Or you've got someone like that's on the trade block or something, and teams are waiting to trade that guy because they're waiting for other players to sign. So maybe they have more leverage. Like it's a waiting game, but things will obviously start to happen. I'd be surprised if things don't start to happen this next week.
And do you remember when I joined that one time and I asked you about Rhys Hoskins?
Yes.
What do you think about that? Like, that's kind of a dumb question, but I was thinking sign him for. I don't know. I don't know what we'll do. I don't know. Just an idea to pitch out.
I think that with Rhys, I think that that's more doable. Like if Soto gets dealt, then they have room. I don't know what Rhys is going to command, though. I haven't heard anything about Rhys Hoskins, his market. Is it a one-year deal? Is that what he wants? Does he want a multi-year deal? Because he is coming off injury. So maybe he wants a one-year prove-it deal, then go get paid. Maybe some team's going to give him 2-3 years right off the bat, and he'll take that. I know there's teams that will be interested in Rhys Hoskins. So I just wonder, if Soto's still on the team, Hoskins isn't coming to the Padres. If Soto's not on the team, I think it's more doable. But do the Padres want to spend money on the rotation first, spend it on outfield before they spend it on someone like Rhys Hoskins? Because Hoskins could then be grabbed up by a team. It's a lot of this can be about timing because some players want to sign. They want to know where they're going, and they don't want to just sit around waiting for a team. And while they're waiting, like they know that team, it's not like that player is not that team's first priority. So why does that player want to wait for that team? Unless it's like an emotional tie or something. So, yeah, maybe I didn't answer your question great, but I think that, yeah, with Hoskins, I don't see it happening, but I think there's a better chance of it happening when Soto gets traded.
Yeah, this whole Soto thing has been crazy.
Yeah, and it's like I said earlier, it's just getting started. If
Yep.
the Padres are this far off, Padres and Yankees are this far off on a deal, the talks are just going to keep happening. The talks aren't just going to be dead on Juan Soto because teams know that the Padres are most likely trading Juan Soto. So, yeah, the talks are going to continue happening. And at some point, they will reach some sort of a middle ground. Don't know if it's going to be the Yankees. It feels like that's who it's going to be. Could be a 3-team trade, like I discussed earlier. It's going to be an interesting week for sure. Winter meetings. I love winter meetings week because it's just constant rumors. Some fans are like, just let me know when the signings happen. And yeah, of course, that's great. But, seeing the different rumors out there, it's fun to talk about for sure.
So, one more question. So, winter meetings is basically, what is it exactly? I mean, I'm not really that smart when it comes to baseball.
Yeah, so pretty much you got GMs, executives, I think some scouts go. There's agents there, obviously. I think some players show up too. And they just talk. They talk about deals. Signings happen there. Everyone is in the same place. They're in the same hotel. So it makes it very easy to start making deals. There could be a winter meetings that we don't know about if they really wanted to, make something happen where you just get in the same room and talk to each other. But that's just not how it works. I know I've heard stories about, in the winter meetings, how nowadays, even at the winter meetings where they're in the same building, it's just executives being in the same room and they're texting other teams that are in a different room in the same hotel, but it's a common spot. And besides trades and free agent signings, there are talks, I believe, like in the morning. It might be in the morning, like different sessions about rules and other stuff where they have to get together and talk. Managers are made available to the media. GMs talk to the media. It's just the big, you know, off-season event, and I think it draws a lot of attention, obviously, to Major League Baseball, and that's good for the game. I kind of wish that there was like a deadline almost, like for trades or something to really spark that excitement, because sometimes in the winter meetings there's signings, but there isn't a ton of trades, or there are trades, but it's not like blockbuster deals, and those are made later. There's a lot of focus on the winter meetings during that week, so hopefully we're going to get a lot of action this next week.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, Carter, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. All right. Back to the chat here. I might not be able to get to everyone here because I know I am far behind in the chat here. But if you want to make sure I get your comment or your question, you can use that super chat button. Or if you want to join the show, click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. Just a reminder, SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your order. Baseball season is over, but there's obviously plenty of other events that you can use that code to your advantage. Underdog Fantasy, 100% deposit match off. 100% deposit match up to $100. So utilize that to your advantage. There's pick'ems, college football, a bunch of conference championship games coming up this weekend. San Diego State basketball plays tonight against UCSD. I don't know if there's a pick'em there. There's drafts as well. And then Foco and Breaking Tea have some cool Padres stuff. So click the links in the description for that. Could be some holiday gift ideas if you're kind of struggling with that. Back to the chat, Ben says, the problem for the Yankees is the quantity the Padres are asking for, and they would prefer to hold on to King. This is probably the same Ben that joined the show earlier, made that same point. And yeah, I agree. I think King hopefully ends up getting dealt to the Padres here. But right now, the Yankees don't want to give him up. But sometimes to get something, you have to give up something that you don't want to give up. Steve says, if the Padres could keep Soto, but it meant that the rotation would be mid-poor, would you do it? No. Because I think that the talent's going to bounce back in this lineup, and we're not bringing Soto back long-term. And yes, you don't want to just punt on 2024. I don't think that if you trade Soto, you're punting on 2024. Are you going to have the best offense to try to go win a World Series? No. But I don't think that means you're punting. I think it means that you're being realistic about the long-term future of Juan Soto in San Diego, and you realize that you have holes on this roster. You have talent locked up long-term that you're not going to be able to deal. So you're just trying to make the best out of the situation that you're in, that you can't go back. We can talk about the moves in hindsight, but that does nothing for AJ Preller. That's a waste of time. You just have to move forward, just make the best out of the situation that you can. And that's what I think the Padres are trying to do right now within the limits that are placed on them by either Eric Kutsunda, Padres ownership, and or Major League Baseball with the debt rules, the debt regulations, and all that. All right. Yes. Volpe, no, he is not included in any of the speculative deals. And again, it doesn't make sense for him to be included in those speculative deals because the Padres don't need another middle infielder. While he's under control, and they could flip him, or he could be in it for like a 3-way deal. But the Yankees, they value Anthony Volpe. You know, they want him to be there long term, I would think, as well. So, yeah, the Padres, it's fine for him not to be in the deal because I don't think he fits the Padres. What the Padres are looking for here. Mike says, I don't like the idea that all we are hearing about is the Yankees. Maybe another team will slide past the Yankees and help get the Padres what they need. Yeah, in a 3-team deal, or maybe the Yankees don't get Soto. You're hearing about the Yankees because there's a lot of New York media. I think one. It's a trade. The Yankees fit what the Padres are looking for. Now, are they willing to give it up? That's a different question. The Yankees can take on $30+ million of Juan Soto for 1 year. There's some teams that don't want to do that for 1 year of Juan Soto, or they don't have the prospect package to give up for Juan Soto. the Yankees can do both. And I think part of it is they have a realistic shot at signing him long term. So the Yankees could use this, and BBD was talking about this from Talking Yanks yesterday, about how even if, you trade for Juan Soto, you don't bring him back, that could still be a good thing because you're not giving him $500 million and not knowing if he's a fit with the Yankees. You could trade for him, find out he's not a fit. Well, at least you didn't give $500 million for him. So, teams that think that they can realistically sign Juan Soto, I think, are in a better spot to trade for Juan Soto for 1 year. I don't know how many teams are willing to trade for Juan Soto for 1 year, and they know that he is not coming back to them in free agency. Let's see here. Going through the chat, continuing to go through the chat. D-Rod says, Padres leak more than the Titanic. I think some of this is the Yankees. I don't think everything's the Padres. Maybe it's some people from the Blue Jays that are leaking. Maybe it's the Padres that are leaking about the Blue Jays to get the Yankees price up. It could be both. Dennis Lin did write in this. He did contribute to this Athletic piece, so I assume he is getting information as well, and he has the Padres contacts. I don't know if he has other league contacts, probably at some point, some people, but he has Padres contacts. So I think it's not just leakage from the Padres. I think it's leakage from different parties. It could be agents as well. Yeah, Fernando Tatis Jr. Lover says, I don't get why we would get Volpe. Well, yeah, I don't get that either because he doesn't really fit what the Padres are looking for. D-Rod asked, would the Padres take a lesser package if the Yanks trade Cronenworth? Or excuse me, sorry, I can't read. Would the Padres take a lesser package if the Yanks take Cronenworth? Well, they'd have to. Number one, you're not getting as big of a package if the Yankees are taking a contract. That would be looked at probably as a dump. Because while Cronenworth is an impactful player, and I love Jake Cronenworth, him and Musgrove are my two favorite Padres, I do realize that would be looked at more of a dump. And yeah, the Padres wouldn't get as much back. I don't think the Padres would be willing to take a lesser package, though. I don't think they want. Yeah, they're willing to take a lesser package for the Yankees to take Grisham, but that's not 1 year, but it's $5 million for this year. It's 2025's contract, his last year before free agency. It's not 7 years at $80 million like Crony. That's different. So, short term, the Padres might be willing, because if the Yanks take on Cronenworth, how much less are the Padres getting? If the Yanks take on Grish, the Padres are probably getting more than what they would get back if the Yankees took on Cronenworth's deal. It's different. Mike says, when the winter meetings start, I believe other teams will step up and the talk won't be all about the Yankees. That's my hope anyway. I don't care what team he goes to. I guess I do care. I don't want him going to the Dodgers or the Giants, but preferably I want, American League team would be great. But hopefully you get my point. I don't really care what team he goes to. I want the best return for Juan Soto because you're not going to be in a situation where you have a player like Juan Soto to go trade. You're not going to be in that spot. All these big players you have are locked down, and these young players, you're not going to be looking to trade those guys soon because they're on rookie contracts. So it's going to be a while. And those other players that are coming up are probably not going to be as good as Juan Soto. I know, that's a hot take, right? Cashman better not screw this up. So this is a Yankees fan. And I think that's the thought from some Yankees fans, that Cashman's going to screw it up because he's going to want to keep someone like Michael King or not be willing to give up, a number of prospects that who knows if they're going to pan out or not. And Yankees fans are going to be pissed off because they want Juan Soto to be a New York Yankee. And I definitely understand that. Just like in our spot as Padres fans, when there were talks about a Juan Soto trade, right? I was like, do pretty much whatever it took to get Juan Soto. I remember being in studio with John and Jim, and we were talking about a potential trade, and it's like, who would you not give up for Juan Soto? And I think the one guy I said was Jake Cronenworth because at the time, like, yeah, part of the core, this was before the extension, but part of the core, he's part of what you're trying to build around. You're not giving that guy up. He's at the big league level already. But prospects, I believe my viewpoint was, sure, I don't want to give up someone like James Wood, but pretty much anyone. Like, it's Juan Soto. You're getting 3 years of Juan Soto. You got to go all in with this roster right now. Go try to win. That's what it was. And I think the Yankees fans, even though it's 1 year, it's not 3 or 2.5, but 3 pennant races potentially, which obviously is not going to be the case, but that's what we thought at the time. Yankees fans are sitting there like, don't screw this up. We want Juan Soto for this year. Let's go try to win. This is another year that we can't get back of Aaron Judge's prime. Same thing with Garrett Cole and the players that we have. So, yeah, Yankees fans, they don't want Cashman to screw this thing up. Both Preller and Cashman, right now, obviously, they both want to be like, yeah, we won that deal. And they want to laugh when the other person agrees to that deal. That's how it is. And so they're far apart right now. Again, I'm not surprised that they're far apart right now. The latest momentum stalls, according to Andy Martino, which, again, this could mean nothing in a few days. At the end of the winter meetings, a deal could happen because they sit together in a room. Maybe it's just Preller and Cashman, just them two. Or it's Yankees brass, Padres brass. They're in a big conference room in a hotel, and they sit there for 5 hours and talk out a trade. Or they sit in a conference room, they talk, and then one party leaves the conference room to go talk. What do you think about that? And then they go back in the conference room, they talk, and they hammer out a deal. Maybe that's what it's going to take. We shall see. It could be the same thing with the Blue Jays or another team. But again, it feels like the Yankees. It's going to be the Yankees. But that's probably just because that's the main talk, right? If it was the main talk about the Cubs, and that's all we were hearing. We're hearing Blue Jays a little bit, but all we're hearing is Yankees. If that was like the Cubs, then we would probably be thinking it's going to be the Cubs. So yeah, the media is, persuading our viewpoints on this, but they're reporting on information that they're receiving. Continuing to scroll through the chat. What's up, Padre Bod? Just trying to see. There's a lot of conversation amongst yourselves, which I love. I'm just trying to see if there's any comments that I want to address or any questions. Dan says, Schmidt is the safest pick as he's already had Tommy John surgery. Second ones aren't likely. Go tell that to Shohei. Also has the least injuries in recent years and is the most innings built up versus King or Cortez. Nestor Cortez, by the way, he is someone that I've seen some people on social media throw out there. I don't see how that's going to happen. I think it's between King or Schmidt. And Dan's saying here Schmidt's the safest pick. Is he? Is he a safe pick? Like, is he safer? Is he really safer than King? Because King, last year seems like he had a pretty good year. And injuries can happen to any pitcher. Like, no pitcher is, clear of getting hurt, right? Pitchers get hurt. That's just what happens. So I don't know if the Padres should go off of who's the safest. Because I'm not a Yankee fan, but Schmidt versus King, I don't really feel like slam dunk Schmidt's safer than King. Maybe that's because I don't know as much about Schmidt as probably Dan does here. I'm assuming he's a Yankees fan. And he makes some valid points here about like least injuries in recent years, most innings built up versus King or Cortez. But look, Seth Lugo, for example, he didn't have a bunch of innings built up, but guess what? He was pretty good this past season. I know he was on the IL a little bit, but he was pretty darn good, pitched a lot of innings for the Padres. So King can build himself up as a starter in the offseason if the Padres get Michael King. Let's see. Chorizo says, Yankees fans need to realize Soto ain't free. Yes, I think they realize that, but I think that they're kind of like Brian Cashman right now. They want to get Soto for the least amount possible, the smallest return possible, right? You go to the store, you want to get a certain food or a certain item, right? You want to get that for the lowest price. That's just how it is, right? And this is how it is with baseball trades as well. Yes, this was a report the other day, D-Rod. Martino reports Yanks Padres exchanging names. No kidding. That's what you do in trade negotiations. Genius reporting. Yes. Yes. And then, yeah, next day, right? Or was that a couple days ago? I forget. I'm losing track of days. But yeah, next day or a couple days later, boom, there's a bunch of names being mentioned. Mike says the best trade with Soto brings the Padres quality starting pitching. If that takes a third team, then so be it. Padres are desperate for quality starting pitching. Soto is their best hope at this. Yes, Padres are desperate for quality starting pitching. And the best trade with Soto brings the Padres quality starting pitching. I agree. I do want an outfielder back, though. If it's like from the Yankees, for example, I do want Everson Pereira back, or I do want Oswaldo Cabrera back. I want an outfielder back as well. I get Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez. That's probably not realistic, but I do want an outfielder back. Ben says, I do not see Cortez in this deal whatsoever. I agree. He's still coming back from an injury. Yankees would view that as trading a possible two-starter or possible two fits of their possible rotation. So you're saying if like Cortez and Schmidt move or Cortez and King get traded, that's two fits. And didn't they just sign Cortez to a contract? What is Nestor's contract? Nestor Cortez contract. Oh, maybe not. No, I guess not. I thought they did. Nope. 2 more years of control. Less than $5 million is his expected salary for 2024. So that would fit in the Padres' plans. But I think the Padres know that the Yankees aren't going to give up Nestor. So I don't think that's why you're not seeing that name out there. Baseball, prison, and motorcycles. Interesting name. Says Schmidt, Warren, and Pereira. So I don't think that's enough. Schmidt is the lesser of Schmidt and King. Warren is not Drew Thorpe. He's not the top pitching prospect. He's not the second top pitching prospect. And Pereira, that's it. For Soto, that's it. I don't think that's enough. Continuing to go through the chat here. Thank you all for continuing to be with me. An hour and a half in. Was not expecting to be on here this long, but there's a bunch of passionate Padres, Yankees fans in here, and I love talking baseball. So I'm going to keep going as long as people are continuing to have comments in here. Let's see here. Viva Padres will re-sign Snell. Even if the Padres trade Soto, I don't think they're going to re-sign Blake Snell. It's more, I think the odds of the Padres bringing back Blake increase, but I don't see the Padres being the highest bidder for Blake. And I feel like he would go to the highest bidder as long as that team's like, a contender. But why would like a team like the Royals, why would they want to sign Blake Snell anyway? PA Fruck says, is no one interested in re-signing Profar? I am. I think he'd be good on the bench. But what if the Padres get like Oswaldo Cabrera, who can play infield and outfield? Now is Profar not part of the picture? But no, I'm interested in bringing back Profar. Not a lot of money, obviously, 1-year deal. But yeah, I'll bring back Jerkson. I think he fits with the Padres. I think he likes it with the Padres. He might be best fit as not an everyday player. And that's how he just best performs. Or he could be an everyday player, but be moving in different positions, being on a team where he's on a contender, and he's not, looked at as like the one of like the big pieces on the team. I mean, with the Colorado Rockies last year, right? Who was their big offseason signing? Wasn't it like Jerkson Profar or Pierce Johnson? Jose Urena, I think. Face of their franchise was like Charlie Blackmon, who's like 37. Ryan McMahon. There's some talent. Nolan Jones. I don't want to make it seem like there's no talent, but Herman Marquez got hurt. So they're just, it wasn't the Padres, obviously. And sometimes you just fit. Maybe some people are working a job right now where you know that you fit and you're comfortable there. You like it there. And even if someone offers you something in another spot, maybe it's a little more money, but you're fine with the position you have, you decide to keep that position because things are working there and you just don't want to change what's happening and you're fine. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. So maybe that's the situation Profar has with the Padres. Hello, Hirsch for real. Let's see. Hirsch for real says this deal gets it done for Soto. Spencer Jones, Mike King, Drew Thorpe, Carlos Narvaez. That probably does get it done. Yeah. Because the Padres get the number 1 Yankees prospect. Number 2, if you really think about it. I think most people consider Jason Dominguez as that, but you get Spencer Jones, you get the better of King and Schmidt. Okay. You get a top pitching prospect. I don't know who Carlos Narvaez is, but you get someone else as well. Yes, that would definitely get it done. But the Yankees would probably say no to that. I don't think they want to give up their top pitching prospect, their top prospect, and Michael King, and another player. I don't think they want to give that up for 1 year of Soto. 1 guaranteed year of Soto. Now, if, like I said earlier, if Soto signs an extension right when he agrees to a trade, I think that's happened sometimes in like the NBA or maybe NFL where they get a trade done and immediately, within a day or something, you hear of an extension. But that's rare. And that wouldn't happen with Soto. I'm just saying if it would, then yeah, the Yankees would probably be more willing to do that because you get Soto for the rest of his career. But under these circumstances, that's not going to happen with the Yankees. As a Padres fan, yeah, I would do it. But I'm realistic here. D-Rod says Padres fans want King with passion. Well, yeah, because I think he's the better option over Clark Schmidt. And it feels like those are our 2 options starting pitching-wise. Schmidt or Michael King for Major League pitching-wise and from that rotation. Lizzie says, what about Boston Red Sox? I thought I read they were interested. Passan, I think, wrote about that on ESPN. Maybe I can find that. I think he mentioned the Red Sox, but he said something about how the Red Sox are not in a spot right now to go all in 1 year with Soto, I think. Let me see. Red Sox. Yes. So this is on ESPN Plus. Says here the Red Sox and Mets both are in enough of a prospect hoarding phase to hesitate pushing in for a player not signed beyond 2024. So like they're not in the same spot as the Yankees are. They're, Craig Breslow just came in. They're not all in for like in a position where it's like, okay, 1 year of Soto, who cares? Yeah, let's bring him in. They're not in that spot where, although Breslow, it feels like he's more willing to pull the trigger than Chaim Bloom was on a big deal like that. Chaim Bloom, at least listening to Red Sox fans and reading stuff, he wasn't very committal on some of his moves. Where I think Breslow is not as afraid as Bloom is to make those moves. So maybe, but I would be surprised if the Red Sox jump in here and acquire Juan Soto. Free agency, that's a different story. I could see that, depending on what other moves are made this offseason. But trade-wise, I don't think that I agree with Passan with what he said there. Let's see. Anything else here in the chat? Chorizo says, I'll trade Soto and Grish for Jones / Dominguez and Schmidt or Warren, but the Yankees aren't going to do that. Like, we have to be realistic here. You could say, if you're a Padres fan, and there are Padres fans on social media that I've said, I have said this earlier. I said this earlier today in the show. No Dominguez, no deal. But that's not how the world works. Like, if you want to get a complete team and you need to trade Soto, if that's what the Padres feel, then You have to get two sides to tango. Padres might want to be dancing, but the Yankees don't, then Soto's not off your team. So you're going to have to get realistic here. I'm not saying you bow down to whatever the Yankees offer you, but you have to get realistic. And they're not going to give up Jones, maybe Jones, but they're not going to give up Jason Dominguez for Soto for 1 year. I don't think. I don't see that happening. The Padres should ask, but I think we got to be realistic here. Unless there's an extension already done at the time of the trade, then Dominguez isn't going to be a Padre. I would be shocked if he was a Padre. Word lifer, assuming he's a Yankees fan. I'd take Cronenworth in the deal. He's fixable. His numbers have gone down. The more his launch angle has gone up. Getting him back to a flat swing is probably what he needs. I think the Padres think that they can fix Croney as well. I think they still believe in him. At least some people do. I believe in Croney. I know he's going to work his butt off. He's not someone that's just going to sit there and be like, I've gotten here like this. I'm good. I don't need to work. I think people know who I'm referring to when I say that, a past Padre. I don't think Croney's that type of person. But Yankees fans, I think Yankees fans are pretty high on Jake Cronenworth. But I think they're saying, I'd take Cronenworth because he's versatile. And I think they know that, hey, we wouldn't have to give up as much in the deal if we take on Cronenworth as well. And we're the Yankees. We can pay for that contract. It's okay. So maybe that's why some Yankees fans are saying that. Let's see here. Nate asked, do you think the Cubs would be a better trading partner than the Yankees? It depends. Are they willing to give up Pete Crow-Armstrong? That's a question. If they're willing to give up Pete Crow-Armstrong and the Yankees don't want to give up Jones or Dominguez, then maybe. What pitching are the Cubs willing to give up? So potentially, maybe that's not a good answer, but potentially, yes, they could be a better trading partner than the Yankees. But I don't think that either team is willing to give up their guy. Yankees, Jason Dominguez, Cubs, Pete Crow-Armstrong for 1 year guaranteed only of Juan Soto. Again, it's Juan Soto. He's a great player, but we've got to be realistic, I think. All right. Last one here. Out of the package that we know of so far, which component, of the package is used to get Grisham in your opinion? Let me reread that again. Out of the package that we know of so far, which component of the package is used to get Grisham? So let's go to Martino. King, let's say if it was King, Thorpe, Vasquez, Brito, out of those guys, for Soto, I would say it's King, it's Thorpe. I think for Grisham, it's really one of those pitching prospects. Maybe. Not like Drew Thorpe. That's the Soto part. King, that's the Soto part. But one of the other guys included in a deal like that, probably. I think. Okay, I said last one, but one more here. Alan says, why would the Yankees take on a 7-year deal with no guarantee with Soto? Because they wouldn't have to give up as much to get Juan Soto, probably. Maybe they don't have to give up, I don't know, Drew Thorpe. Or they don't have to give up Michael King. And I believe Gleyber Torres, free agent after next season, they could plug Cronenworth into second base. He's not making a ton of money per year like AAV. The Yankees can deal with that payroll-wise. He can play short. He can play second. He can play first if they need him to. He's a valuable piece still. So, and the Yankees probably would believe that they can get him back to being that line drive guy, be a better offensive player at Yankee Stadium than at Petco Park. So that's probably why. All right. That's going to do it. That was a great almost 2 hours with all of you. Over 80, 90 people watching this still. Thank you so much for the time talking the latest on Juan Soto. Have a great rest of your night. Episode 528, Talking Friars. That is it. We'll see if a Soto trade gets done here at winter meetings or before that. I would think it would happen at winter meetings, not before. But stay tuned here to the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show at Talking Friars on social media, Twitter or X. I call it Twitter still. Instagram, all that. Thanks so much again for the time. Have a great night.